All right, so as y'all can see, this trade is done. It went 260 pips. Um, we already done made money on it, right? But that's not really why I got on here to talk to y'all, right? I didn't get on here to really talk about the trade and making money instantly and things like that. I kind of wanted to talk about because I was just texting somebody that's in the chat. Um, he's fairly new. But he's not beginner level, right? But he is new to it because he's done it before and he just doubled back with me because it just seen the results. But I just want to talk about a few things, right? Because a lot of people when they, want to learn trading or they say they're interested and they actually find someone. Now, granted, the person you find may not be knowledgeable, they may not actually be profitable and things like that. But if you do have someone that is knowledgeable and is profitable, right? A lot of things you can't just tell people, right? It's kind of like raising a kid, right? You can tell them one thing, but they're still gonna bump their head, right? So a lot of things in trading, right? Outside of, technical analysis, outside of, make sure you know the basics, making sure what's a candlestick, what's a pip, how to decipher news, liquidity in the market, things like that. Outside of that, you can't really tell people too much things, right? You can only show them because it'll mess up their process, right? So for instance, or for example, right? If someone has a $500 account and I have a $500 account, I may be able to make, 500 to 1,000 on that account. They may only be able to make $100 on that account. And it's because it's levels to the knowledge, right? So their knowledge might be here and my knowledge might be here, right? So with that gap in knowledge, it's going to be a gap in production. It's going to be a gap in profitability, right? So I can't sit here and tell them, to leverage, this a certain way because that trade could go wrong, right? I could tell, them to, max that out, max that, 500 count out or, put it pretty close to match, 70% lot size, something like that, a big lot so that if the trade wins, they'll make a lump sum of money and they'll probably take that $500 account to 1,000 or 1,500, But if it loses, it'll take that account to 200, 250, right? And then they'll be, devastated. For me, if I were to lose on a $500 account and took my account, from 500 to 200 to 250, I wouldn't be devastated, right? Because I would know what I had to do to get it back to that 500 or more spot, right? So you can't tell people, you can't give like shortcuts, right? It doesn't work like that. It's just like life, right? It's no such thing as a shortcut, right? And I think that's a frustrating thing for people to kind of understand and kind of, attempt to grasp in trading, right? Especially when, you get in trading to make money, right? I don't know, you know, all the reasons everybody gets into trading, but I know for me personally, my reason was to make money, right? Like a lot of people. And if someone needs to make money, wants to make money right now, they need it right now, right? They're gonna try to skip those learning phases, those growing phases, those growing stages to where they want to just make $1,000 a day, or they want to make, $10,000 a week, or 10,000 a month, or 20,000 a month, whatever expectation they have, which is all possible, right? It's all possible. We all seen it, right? It can be done, right? And that's on a small, a smaller frame. People are making millions a week, right? We just don't know about it. We just haven't seen it, right? Um, but yeah, you can't speed up somebody's process, right? So a lot of you, if you're on my YouTube watching, if you've been trading on your own, right? That's a main thing, right? That's what people say when it's your process, right? It's no one moment in time where stuff is going to click. It's never going to be like a specific moment in time, like December the 16th, 5 a.m. It clicked for me, right? No, it's just going to be kind of, you consistently been doing things right. You've been improving, 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 right? You kept going. That's the main thing. That's 90% of success, right? Is to keep going, right? It's going to be all those things that is going to make it seem like it clicked, right? But it's not going to click overnight. And it's definitely not going to just be like, you can't just skip phases, right? You can't go from making, you know, $20 a trade to $2,000 a trade, right? It doesn't work like that. You can't go from, or even smaller, right? You can't go from, you know, $15, $20 a trade to $200 a trade or $500 a trade, right? It's levels, it's progression, right? You have to be okay with being able to progress like that, right? You can't, want to jump phases and, jump ship and get on a better ship per se, right? So I just wanted to get on here and just say that real quick, right? That's a big thing. I feel like that's a big thing. That's very important, right? I think, this call may not be long, this video may not be long, but that's very important, right? Because a lot of people wonder, why am I not in this phase, right? Or why am I not there yet, right? And you could have been training for 2 years. You could have been training for 3 years, right? Somebody else could have been training for 3 years and they're a lot further along, right? That's because their process, their journey looks a lot different, right? So when they were on their process, their journey, they might have had $1,000 account, $2,000 account, and they were making, 500, $1,000, 2,000 a week, right? You over here, while y'all both started year three, right? Y'all both been training for 3 years, year three, right? You're upon year three, or you're coming into year four, right? The person over here has been trading with, a few $100 accounts, right? So they might have been trading with like 250, 300, and they're making, 50, maybe 100, maybe 150 a week, right? You see the difference, right, in the levels, right? Not telling you to just start out, $1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000, 10,000, something like that. But I'm just saying the levels are going to be different, right? It's like playing on dynasty mode, right? You have all different kind of levels, right? You got rookie and then you got all pro, right? It's different levels. You're going to experience things at different paces on different levels. So if you're over here, you have that account, you have to build it to that person's 1,000, right? So when you get it to their 1,000, right? When you get it to there and you're starting to see the $500 days or $500 weeks, $1,000 weeks, right? They're gonna be right here, right? They're gonna be right here. So their year four is gonna look like this, and yours is gonna look like this, which is perfectly fine. But people are not okay with that, right? It's like at the end of the day, bro, we making money from our phones. I mean, this will be the future, but we're literally making money from our phones. Now, we all know, when you study, when you're back testing, looking at news, all these kind of things, right? In your downtime, you're spending hours at a time, right? If you're not spending hours at a time, especially if you just started out, you're bullshitting, right? But you're spending hours at a time, right? So when you see people make like this morning, I made, six something in 10 minutes, right? You're putting a lot more time in than the 10 minutes, right? It's the build up to the 10 minutes, right? But to everyone else, it looks like you only spent 10 minutes to make that money, but you're spending hours on end, right? For the build up, right? It's like practice. You're putting in practice time. So when that game time comes, game day comes, you're able to execute at an optimum level, right? You don't have to, sit there in your thoughts because you already ran through scenarios. You've seen X, Y, and Z. You have over 10,000 hours in the market. You have 10,000 hours on trading, on back testing and things like that, over 20,000 hours and even more, right? But a lot of people are not okay with that, right? That's why that you get people and they see different people at different levels and it's, oh, that's not possible or, they're scamming. No, they're just at a different level. They're at a different level, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? You have to be okay with your process, your journey, especially if you're somebody that comes into trading. And I know a lot of people say you can start with $50, $100. Bro, that's bullshit. If you're one of those people that starts that small in your account, right? You're gonna have a lot more phases to go through. You're gonna have a lot more things that you have to see and overcome, right? So, I just want to get on here and just say that, hope that helped you guys. I know a lot of people wondering, why they're in certain predicaments, why they're not, in this spot and this person has been trading for the same amount of time as them. They've experienced more, right? They have experienced more. It's just like someone who is 18 years old and has been through so much, right? They're gonna have more life experience than someone that's probably 35, right? That hasn't been through life or hasn't been through as many trials and tribulations, right? And that's just because they've been tested more, right? It doesn't mean one person is greater than the other. They just had to go through more. And the same thing can be said with trading, right? So I hope this helped you guys. I thought this was a gem. I would drop it on the YouTube. Like, subscribe, follow, man, follow my journey. If you're not motivated, I hope that these calls motivate you. I hope this YouTube motivates you. And if anything, man, just look at me like, like shit. If he's doing it, then I can do it, right? I mean, whatever's gonna get you to that next level, right? Look at it like that. But yeah, man, see you guys at the top because the bottom is not an option.